It is 31st of October 2008. In the middle of world financial crisis, a historic white paper was released by a mysterious figure known only as Satoshi Nakamoto.
Satoshi's identity remains one of the great mysteries in the history of technology.
The paper titled Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, a digital currency and the first decentralized cryptocurrency that could operate without central authority like banks or government. Fast forward, in May 2010 in Jacksonville, Florida, a pivotal moment in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin history took place. Laszlo Hayek, a passionate crypto enthusiast, made the first real-world Bitcoin transaction, paying 10,000 Bitcoins for 2 pizzas. After that transaction, the Bitcoin will keep rising in value, and the world will go on a roller coaster.
You confiscate a few $1 billion out of private bank accounts and you print a couple $1 trillion, and all of a sudden, you know what happens? People start to worry. So out of this worry, we have something called the Bitcoin. Bitcoin.
In the mid-2010s, cryptocurrency values, especially Bitcoin, were growing rapidly, and everyone seemed excited to invest in the new wave of quick riches. In fact, the 10,000 Bitcoins Laszlo Hayek spent on pizzas in 2010 would have been worth $7.5 million by 2014. By 2025, it will have been worth nearly $1 billion. While Bitcoin was taking the world by storm, another cryptocurrency was gaining traction on the other side of the wall. But its history was not one of innovation. It was one of deception. In 2014, in Sofia, Bulgaria, a new cryptocurrency called OneCoin was launched by a woman named Ruja Ignatova, aka Cryptoqueen. Ruja and her co-founder Sebastian Greenwood marketed OneCoin as a Bitcoin killer and promised investors that OneCoin will exceed Bitcoin as a #1 cryptocurrency in the world and will create quick fortune like Bitcoin did. By 2017, after 3 years from its launch, and 3 million investors from worldwide invested over $1 billion into the OneCoin, on 25th of October 2017, in the cold overcast air of Sofia, Ruja boarded a plane from Sofia, Bulgaria, to Athens, Greece, and that was last time she was seen in the face of Earth, disappearing without mark, leaving millions who had hoped to become millionaires in a massive shock and regrets.
That's when I realized that I had just made the poorest decision in my life.
Several people that have committed suicide over this.
Ruja Ignatova, the so-called Cryptoqueen, was born on the 30th of May 1980 in Rus, a quiet city nestled along the border of Bulgaria and Romania. Her early life featured nothing extraordinary. Her father worked as an engineer and her mother was a teacher. But even as a child, Ruja's ambition stretched far beyond the modest horizons of her small town. At just 10 years old, her life took a significant turn when her family moved to Germany, settling in the charming town of Schramberg. In Germany, she was known for her sharp intellect and relentless drive. She secured a place at the prestigious Oxford University in England, where she earned a degree. Later, she won a scholarship to pursue a PhD in law at the University of Constance, completing it in 2005. Her classmates described her as a brilliant and driven, with a singular obsession. She desperately wanted to be rich.
She wanted to be rich. Everything is justifying that.
Nights for Ruja often turned into early mornings, as she eagerly consumed books on wealth creation, as Jamie Bartlett writes in his book, The Missing Cryptoqueen. Her determination paid off. Fluent in multiple languages, German, English, Bulgarian, and Russian, Ruja quickly climbed the professional ladder, landing a high-powered consulting job at McKinsey & Company. Her desire to achieve wealth and sharp mind opened doors, but these same traits would later become the tools of a much darker mission. In 2012, she set about a peer-to-peer and multi-level marketing cryptocurrency called Bitcoin, a small idea that will soon grow into global disaster. Enter Sebastian Greenwood, a charismatic Swede who was behind a controversial marketing project known as SiteTalk, which he promoted as the new Facebook. Their partnership was powerful. In 2013, they rebranded Bitcoin to OneCoin, a name destined to become infamous, and the stage was set for one of the most chilling financial frauds in history. Ruja and her team knew exactly how to set up a show. They began by hosting massive promotional events in some of the world's biggest cities, London, Dubai and Bangkok. The London event at Wembley Arena, officially titled the Coin Rush Global Event, held on June 11, 2016, remains one of the most infamous moments in OneCoin history. Drawing over 4,000 attendees, the crowd was consisted of eager investors and hopeful individuals looking to buy into the vision that Dr. Ruja Ignatova was selling. Ruja made her interest like a star, dressed in sparkling extravagant clothes. The crowd energy rising as a powerful song blared in the background. Standing at the center of the stage, she said, "In 2 years, nobody will speak about Bitcoin anymore," offering massive profits to anyone who joined the revolution. However, this grand event will later be recognized as a critical piece of the puzzle in one of the world's largest financial fraud. But the truth behind OneCoin was not about technology or groundbreaking currency. It was about the recruitment. The scheme was not focused on creating real coins or service. Instead, they relied on a marketing model known as a multi-level marketing. The model was simple. Investors were not just buying coins, they were being urged to bring in new recruits to earn profit, which was a pyramid scheme. Within months, OneCoin had collected over $1 billion from hopeful investors across the globe, all believing they were on the next financial revolution. However, this success was not built on real cryptocurrency. Unlike Bitcoin, which is decentralized and operates independently on open source network without middlemen like banks or companies, OneCoin was fully controlled and centralized by the company's servers. Unlike legitimate cryptocurrency, which require personal wallets and are traded on public exchanges like Binance or Coinbase, OneCoin was never listed on any established exchange. Instead, they created their own private exchange called XCoinX, where users could trade coins that were not backed by any real market, making the whole system entirely controlled and centralized. To invest in OneCoin, individuals often met with recruiters at events or seminars. These gatherings were carefully planned to pitch OneCoin as a revolutionary financial opportunities. At these events, investors were encouraged to invest in coins that did not exist on open exchange markets and were assured they could sell later these coins for profit. However, in reality, the ability to trade or withdraw funds was controlled by OneCoin, making the promised profits impossible for the participant. What made the scam even worse was the fact that investors did not even purchase real coins at all. Rather than buying cryptocurrency directly, they were sold educational packages ranging from 100 to 118,000 euros. These packages promised education about cryptocurrency, but in reality, they were just a way for Ruja and her team to pocket the money. The coins came as a bonus with the package, but they were invaluable and were completely created for the scam. OneCoin targeted people by exploiting the human nature of FOMO, the fear of missing out, and taking advantage of their limited understanding of cryptocurrency. They were promised that this was their ticket to financial freedom, but under the flashy presentations and grand promises, a devastating truth lay hidden. Something critical was missing. Every real and decentralized cryptocurrency relies on a fundamental technology called a blockchain. A blockchain acts as a digital ledger or notebook, securely recording every transaction in a bare-minute and tamper-proof way. Unlike traditional ledgers, controlled by a government or organization, a blockchain operates across a network of computers worldwide, ensuring independence, security, and trust. OneCoin claimed to have this blockchain, but it was a lie. Instead of using blockchain for transparency, OneCoin operated as a classic Ponzi scheme, using new investors' money to pay returns to earlier ones, raising red flags among many who never received their promised returns. Complaints began flooding in, drawing the attention of investigators, journalists, and cryptocurrency experts. Among the victims was Geneva McAdam, an optimistic investor who believed in OneCoin after watching a slick promotional video. In her book Devilish Coin, she recalls how another cryptocurrency enthusiast, Tim Carey, contacted her warning it was all a scam.
Happy with that. I made a decision.
You've been deceived. I will
Believe that. You
Wow.
believe that. What you have to understand, Tim, is you have your opinion, and I have my...
It's not an opinion, it's a fact.
Despite these warnings, Geneva initially trusted the OneCoin narrative, only to discover the devastating truth later. The deception was not limited to individual victims. In September 2015, Bulgaria Financial Supervision Commission issued warning about the risks of new cryptocurrency, naming OneCoin specifically. Following this, Ruja Ignatova, shifted operations out of Bulgaria, using foreign banks to handle wire transfers. Soon, other countries and banks, including those in Thailand, Italy, and Croatia, labeled OneCoin as a pyramid scheme. The walls began closing on OneCoin. On 23rd of April 2017, Indian police arrested 18 organizers at a recruitment event in Navi, Mumbai. Going undercover, the police confirmed the suspicions and initiated a border investigation, uncovering 24.57 crore rupees, 3.3 million USD in 9 bank accounts, with even more funds transferred out before seizure. Despite mounting evidence, Ruja continued her lies. She falsely claimed that OneCoin was licensed by Vietnamese government as a digital currency. On June 2017, Vietnamese Ministry of Planning and Investment exposed this lie, declaring the documents OneCoin presented as forged. Ruja's empire of illusion began to crumble, but her sudden disappearance left countless victims and unnecessary questions. By October 2017, cracks in OneCoin empire were becoming too large to ignore. Investors like Geneva McAdam were growing desperate for answers. The exchange promised to turn their virtual coins into cash remained a promise, but hope lasted. A grand gathering in Lisbon, Portugal was set to clear the air. The event was carefully planned with the magnificence expected of a financial revolution. All eyes were on Ruja Ignatova. She was the queen after all, the visionary who had promised to lead them into a new era of wealth. But as the hours passed, something felt off. Ruja didn't show up. Calls and messages to her personal line went unanswered. The Sofia headquarters, once bustling with confidence, offered no explanation. Whispers spread through the crowd. Had she been kidnapped or assassinated by the powerful banking elite she had promised to disrupt? The tension was suffocating, but the truth was even more shocking. 2 weeks after her unexpected absence in Lisbon, on 25th of October 2017, she boarded a Ryanair flight from Sofia, Bulgaria, to Athens, Greece. That was the last confirmed sighting of the Cryptoqueen. She vanished into the space, leaving behind a trail of devastated investors, shattered promises, and mounting losses. Her disappearance set off an international manhunt. The FBI, Europol, and Interpol raced to track her down, piecing together the fragment of her empire. But for those who believed in her vision, the betrayal was personal. For many, it was not just money they lost, it was trust and hope. But one question grows louder. Where could the Cryptoqueen be hiding? And is this the final chapter of her history? Or just the beginning of a new one? The hunt of the Cryptoqueen began with one simple rule: follow the money to catch the criminal. But this rule was not anything simple as it sounds. Ruja was master of hiding her wealth. In central Sofia, Bulgaria, she bought a lavish property, but the company that purchased it, one property was owned by another company called Risk Limited, managed by yet another company called Paragon, and ultimately linked back to Ruja's mother through a company called Artifex. Even her yacht named the Rafina was hidden behind similar layers of shell companies, businesses that existed only on paper. By the time investigators untangled one layer, another will appear, making it almost impossible to track her assets. In July 2018, investigators got their first big one. Sebastian Greenwood, Ruja's co-founder, was arrested in Thailand and extradited to the United States. Prosecutors revealed he had used stolen OneCoin funds to live a life of luxury, buying expensive watches, designer clothes, and homes in countries like Spain and Thailand. He was even planning to buy a yacht with a down payment of over $500,000. Sebastian pleaded guilty to fraud and money laundering, earning a 20-year prison sentence and ordered to return $300 million according to the United States Attorney of New York. His arrest was victory, but it was only the tip of the iceberg of what the authorities will discover. Months earlier, authorities had arrested Gilbert Armenta, Ruja's boyfriend. Fearing a long prison sentence, Gilbert decided to cooperate. He handed over recordings of conversation with Ruja and gave details about OneCoin's secret operations.
Gilbert, we can get access to your emails within 24 hours if we want to. You cannot prevent it. You have to be careful. The only advice that you get from me, do not use emails, do not, just face-to-face or encrypted phones. Nothing else is safe. Just believe me. Please.
Really brought investigators closer to the truth and the arrest of Sebastian. But then the case took a darker way. British businessman Christopher Hamilton, accused of stealing from OneCoin, claimed he was being harassed. A gang had warned him to return the money. The man behind this harassment was Gary Murphy, a British gangster according to the BBC reporters. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered another shocking connection. Christopher Amanatildis, known as Taki. Taki was not just a Bulgarian mafia boss, he was one of Ruja's closest allies, said by Ruja's private office manager, Gary Guilford, on a BBC investigative documentary. She had built him for protection, acting like her personal bodyguard. One of Taki's associates, a man named Krasim Kaminov, aka Kuro, later leaked chilling information. Kuro recalled sitting with Taki and Ruja during a casual meeting. When Kuro asked Taki why he openly talked about his crimes in front of Ruja, Taki replied, "Don't worry, she is as good as dead." 3 days later, Ruja disappeared. Weeks after that, Kuro was killed in Cape Town, South Africa. What started as a financial investigation had now led to the heart of criminal underworld. As the search continues, one question remains. Was Ruja once the man who managed to escape justice? Or was she a victim of the very criminals she once trusted?